All right, welcome back, fellow TFFL owners. It's week 10 that we're looking ahead to now. Wednesday, November 5th. We'll wrap up week 9 action a little bit here, but yeah, week 10 already. Heading down the stretch here in the 2014 season. I'm Stick. I've got with me as usual Berto, now the number 1 team in the league, and with me Chief and Phil. It's like a club, the three of us. We're all just a game out of first place. No, the aliens, we're all equal teams. And we got a special guest. We got Terry Rogers here tonight, representing the City Mongols. Welcome, Terry.
Hello. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
All right. So coming up later in the show, we're going to obviously have the Eye on the TFFL interview with Terry this week. We're going to examine how much the trade market might heat up here in the next week or so, and we're going to provide some prescriptions for the AMPAC. I think we can now unofficially declare them out of the 2014 race. So we'll talk about what they should be doing looking ahead to 2015, and we'll have a lot more. Obviously, 51 minutes more. But first as always, let's start with some TFFL trivia. This one's just going to be a wild guess, but I'm going to answer a question that was on a lot of people's minds this week. The Aliens won a game this past week with 33 points scored. Several owners have asked whether that was the lowest winning TFFL score in league history. So let's answer that question here tonight. You tell me, and I'll give you partial credit if you're within a point of the correct answer. What is the lowest winning score in TFFL history? And the hint is it's the record holder is here on our show tonight. Might be the Aliens in our 33 this past week. Might be somebody else. So tell me what you think that number is. Lowest winning score in TFFL history. If you're watching us at home, write down your answer. I'll give you the correct answer later in the show. All right, let's again take a little bit of a look back to week 9, and we'll start with our best and worst lineup moves of the week. Chief, I'll tell you, I think about usually losing this award every time I make a lineup move. Who do you got with the worst move this week and the best?
I think you're foreshadowing a little bit there, and you'll be happy to hear this, that yes, your pickup of Martavis Bryant and insertion into the starting lineup. I guess your only other option was Hakeem Nicks, but nonetheless, it was a bold move. Use an IR pick to get Bryant, put him in there, and it got you a plus 12. So, for all the grief we gave you about, Jordan Cameron a couple weeks ago, you successfully done the opposite. So good for you. Usually I have a hard time giving out one award. There were 2 good ones this week, and I gave it to the Aliens because, in spite of yourselves, you won the game. But I think the Beavers should also be recognized too for making a move to pick up Brian Hoyer and starting him, which ended up netting him some positive points too, of cashing out Austin Davis and putting in Brian Hoyer. So, Bill, good job, but Aliens won, so they get the award this week. The worst start, and I really hate to do this to the man, because he pulled off the biggest upset of the season so far. But we have a Denver and Patriots game, a national game, and somehow Brady's number 1 target, or number 1 wide receiver target, is on the bench for the Boba Fett's. In favor, he started Greg Jennings, who's done a whole lot of nothing for a couple seasons now. So that just struck me as puzzling, why you have to believe Denver-New England's going to be a high-scoring affair the way they're going. And Julian Edelman, who probably averages probably 8.5 catches a game, is sitting on the bench. As it turned out, Edelman scored 20, Jennings scored 3. And nonetheless, Boba Fett's won. I congratulate him. But I think that was the head-scratcher of the week.
That's back-to-back weeks for the Fats.
He's 2-7, so it's I don't think much more need to be said.
Fair enough. All right, over to our graphics department and Hank for our weekly look at the playoff race, and now you can really start to project some things, and of course a draft forecast. Teams on the other side of the equation.
A quick aside, as someone who's only watched these before, these graphics are one of my favorite parts of the webcast.
Because I spend so much time working with graphics. We're going with a new format slightly because we've had to move to what I'm going to call the trifold. And so here we go. So in the north.
Hey, Terry, we do this in-house, you know.
Yeah, in-house.
100% in-house.
In-house.
All right. So in the north, the Killers have indeed taken over the top spot and stand there at 7-2. Congrats, Berto, and yeah, well done. The Cables are sitting there behind them at 6-3, looking still pretty good for a wild card there. And the Lizards are hanging on by the skin of their teeth to the other slot. Now we're going to go to the middle fold, where we have absolute carnage in the South. Everybody is viable. We have a three-way tie atop the Eastern Division with the Beavers, the Mongols, and the Devils. And then the Senators are probably right now they are the hottest team in the league. And the Hams are slipping a little bit. And look at the Sponge. We kind of said they were out of it last week, but look at them there. So now for the big fit with the graphic, we have the bottom half where we have the reality check time. We just we mentioned the AMPAC, and they obviously are in trouble. They're 3 games back in the division. The wild card is going to be tough to come out of the North. The Aliens, the record isn't there. The talent doesn't seem to be there. But a game out of the division, you either got to go for it or pack it in. And the Fats have to be feeling pretty great about themselves right now. I can't believe we lost. Terrible loss for the K Wheels, and even sitting at 2-7, with the top pick there, they got to either consider about going for it or packing it in. But this is the week. Figure it out, guys.
In the South right now.
Say what?
The Southern Conference is
let's look at this. Everybody's available. Everybody is in it. Beavers, Mongols, Devils. I did not look at the tiebreakers. Terry, maybe you know where the tiebreakers are in your division.
I know I have a head-to-head against the Beavers, but the other tiebreakers I haven't looked at. So far.
This is our last week of interdivision games, and then from here on out, there's going to be 4 division games every week, and so we're going to see what happens in the South, and it'll shake out at least in the NOCO West, I guess. What's going to happen there? Whether the Aliens can claw back a game from the Lizards and win the head-to-head, I'd do it right now.
Yep. Hey, so I've got 2 constructive suggestions for you.
Yes.
I bet you Brooke could help with the graphics, just making them a little more colorful.
I'm sure she could. We'll work on that.
I'll ask her when she comes in.
I'm sure she'll be soon. Don't worry. Although I do have Mom on guard tonight, so hoping that we may avoid appearance, but we'll see.
I do like whoever's been titling the webcasts. Brooke Hawking, weekly in the titles now.
Yeah, well, that's Chief on the blog. Chief, isn't that you doing that?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Okay, my second suggestion is I think the person who should know the answer to the tiebreakers is probably the person doing the playoff forecast.
Well, that would be the case.
Not a bad suggestion.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know right now. But those head-to-head still to come.
We can break down scenarios and we can go through tiebreakers, but it's all going to be determined in the coming 4 weeks. We are entering what is maybe the most exciting TFFL home stretch that we've had in quite some time. South could turn upside down, with the right wins at the right times, and as I showed the league this week, anybody can beat anybody, and let's just let's see what happens. But it's going to be exciting.
It's exciting. The TFFL has reached, what the NFL's dream is parity. Everybody's got a shot.
Yeah.
Most everybody.
Well, and you know, like we said, I mean, even the Fats with the worst record in the league, 2-7, they just beat me, and they are 2 games out of first place with a head-to-head coming against both division teams. You know, it could happen.
And they beat
This is
you with their backup quarterback.
They did.
It's really putting a crimp. It's really putting a crimp on our trading, though. I have to say.
Yeah, I hope, Stick, we're going to get to that because you know that definitely is a factor.
Okay, well, you're foreshadowing the around the tube discussion just a little bit. So let's head to the tube. Terry, please jump in here. Let's hold off on that big discussion about the trade market for just a second. Let's start things off with an easier one, maybe a little bit of a fun one. Hank, I think you've said many times, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. So let's talk about the Lizards for a second. The Lizards, who have Andrew Luck as their #1 guy, also have Ben Roethlisberger these days.
And you know, I jumped on last week for 55 points on the bench, but you know, you can't fault him necessarily for starting Luck. But here's 2 weeks in a row where Roethlisberger has gone off. I mean, are you going to sit him this week?
Well, this week Luck is on a bye. But yeah, reasonably speaking, yeah, let's say Roethlisberger goes out and has another even good game, 3 touchdowns this week.
Mm-hmm.
At what point is he somebody that the Lizards at least have to look at on a week-to-week basis, comparing him to Luck's opponent?
Yes, or at the very least, why is Berkman not on the phone with everybody saying, "Come get Ben while he's hot," and and get another piece to make this run to try and clinch the division? I mean, maybe he is, and you know, it seems like he's at least got a piece worth talking about.
I think
maybe the Hams are a team now.
Yeah, I mean that last comment's valid because to trade, but for someone who's chased quarterbacks points for the better part of a decade and a half, when you have an Andrew Luck, you start him, because when you start the quarterback switching game and chasing the points, it never works. So I think he made the right move starting Luck both weeks. Ben just had a couple of historic weeks, so it makes it tough.
Yeah. For me to start Roethlisberger over Luck right now, Luck would be after playing in a monsoon somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, a snow game. You just can't bench him. His track record's too good. You know, the Colts, they're a passing team. You know, first, second, third, they're going to pass the ball. As we touched on a little bit earlier, that Berkman needs Roethlisberger for his bye week. After this week, I expect you will see some offerings out there. And don't forget, he can't afford to lose a bye week because he trades Roethlisberger for a lesser quarterback and a draft pick. You know, he can't afford to piss any games away.
But I'll tell you what.
I expect that after this week, he'll start fielding some phone calls on Roethlisberger.
Yeah, he's probably got the 1 quarterback, right, or maybe 2 or 3, Manning, Luck, and Rodgers, that you don't think about. He's got 3 games with 4 TDs. He's got 3 games with 3 TDs. So.
No, you're right. It's never going to start Roethlisberger over Luck, but you look at the numbers and you're like, maybe should you think about it? But no, probably not.
I might bring this up again in another week or 2 if he keeps doing what he's doing, because I don't know how you ignore 6 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. At least look at Roethlisberger on a weekly basis enough to see if there's a monsoon, if Luck is playing in bad weather, or against Seattle while Roethlisberger has Jacksonville or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If Ben puts up
Luck's got a good schedule coming up too.
Yeah. If Ben puts up big numbers this week while Luck's on a bye, then it makes it a little tougher.
That's what I'm talking about. We'll revisit this perhaps. Okay, so let's jump off of something in the commissioner report. Chief, thank you for sending that out last night. That was a good late night read. You asked Hank, where's that big trade we've been waiting for, Hank? And I'll let Hank answer that himself in just a moment here. But first, I want to remind all of our owners, I think our trade deadline is just a week away, I believe. Chief, you can clarify the exact date. We're coming up on the start of week 11 in a week and a day from now.
Right.
And are there any blockbusters out there in the works? I don't know. I don't really get the sense that there are. And Hank, you boldly promised on a previous webcast that you were going to make a big trade again this year. You're going to do what it takes to win. It's fair to ask why it hasn't happened yet.
And yeah, fair question. And I will, I think we discussed it already that the problem is not enough teams are out of it yet. Not enough teams are saying it's not going to happen for me. I'm ready to pack it in. Even the Fats are hanging on, saying, well, the Lizards lose a game or two, and I get, it's hard. And so, let me be clear. And there's several owners who can vouch for this. I've talked with a lot of people about trying to acquire talent and willing to give up, some players and willing to give up draft picks. And the discussions go nowhere. The return of email is even rare. And Ralph, I've been trying to get you on the phone for 3 weeks, and I don't get a return phone call. It's the only way you're going to get a trade done is with a willing partner. And right now, I don't think there are many out there, if any.
It's tough to trade in the league when you can't trade with a 2-7 team because they're still hanging around.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Fats, and he said he's holding tight. Then, that's tough. It creates a tough scenario.
Yeah, we talked about Emmanuel Sanders last week, and he's not available. I made a big offer for Julius Thomas. He's not available. I'm trying to be the best GM I can for my team, and I'm talking to whoever will talk to me, and I'm going to try. I still got a week and a day to make a trade, and I will be talking to try and make it happen. But somebody's got to lose and fall.
This is an open plea. This is an open plea to Fats to not trade Julius Thomas to Phil. Don't do that, Fats.
Don't worry, he's not going to do it. And look. There's the number of players that can be got right now is really low, and so either through free agency or through a trade because an owner feels like he's out of it. It's unless somebody's got other information that I don't. The Minnesota Vikings D trade might be the best one we can talk about.
Is it just a matter of rather than a great team trading with a really weak team, two good teams trading from respective surpluses at different positions? Are you maybe looking at the wrong rosters?
I'll say right now, I've looked at every roster in this league. I've studied the roster grid and who might be available. And I think the problem with me talking to somebody like Berto or even Chief right now is they're not willing to part with their guys. And we all feel a certain loyalty to the guys we draft. We're not we're going to hang on to somebody or overvalue somebody just because he's been on our roster for a couple of years or you kept him. And there you go. Hang on, I think I have a new guest to bring to the show.
Nice.
Come on in. I have apparently the headband wearing Luke Hawkins.
All right.
Hey, Luke.
There it is. Say hello. All right. You guys can carry on the trade discussion.
All right. Let's. It's actually a good transition here because I want to talk about the Amsterdam Packers tonight. Has anybody actually talked to Ralph? I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
We actually got the trades. We swung a trade Sunday morning.
That's right. A big.
So, yeah, we had an extended conversation.
We exchanged texts about fish.
Okay. Well, we know where his priorities are.
Ralph and I, in jest, talked about the first cross-sport, cross-fantasy league trade, Nicholas Batum for Antonio Gates, but it didn't happen.
So we know Ralph is alive. Good. So yeah, let's talk about the Amsterdam Packers. I think. Tell me if you disagree, but I think we can unofficially rule them out for 2014 at this point. They're 3-6. They're 4 games out of the division lead, 2 games out of a wild card. There's 4 weeks to go. This is a team that probably should be focusing on 2015. Probably should be thinking about making some trades, responding to some emails, Hank. What's your prescription for this team? Not so much something they can do this year to try to make a run at the playoffs. I think we hopefully are agreeing that that's not going to happen. But in terms of trading right now, trading during the off season, drafting in 2015? What do they need to do to get better, and can they be back in the race next year?
Well, I'll be brief because I've been talking a lot, but I mean, I think you have to look at the fact that Amsterdam Packers scored 23 points last week, 23, and that's, you know, they aren't getting it done. Whether that's, you want to look at, blame Russell Wilson, you know, blame whoever, but they had one touchdown on their team. They also get 2 tight ends, which, you know, I know that he's loved Antonio Gates for years, but he has Jimmy Graham, and the chances of Gates seeing the field down the stretch are pretty low. You know, you look at, here's a good guy with a roster. You know, you got players like Frank Gore, Larry Fitzgerald, Antonio Gates. All 3 of those guys should be moved, and they should be at the top of people's trade targets. But with Ralph not answering emails, texts, phone calls, carrier pigeons, you know, it's good luck.
Well, I don't know what Ralph needs to do to make trades, but I think the big thing in his downfall this year, Ralph has traditionally been able to unearth some gems in the draft, going back to Fred Lane and Jimmy Graham and Gates, you know, before most of us knew about those guys. And this year, a lot of those picks, Marcus Wheaton, Benny Cunningham, which he crowed loudly about, Justin Hunter, who we traded for, they haven't panned out. And, you know, that's not a normal situation for Ralph. So he needs to not only make a couple of trades if he can, but, you know, pick it back up in the draft next year.
Stick, there's been no Pack Bowls for the Pack in 8 years. Since 2006, there are only 4 games over 500.
Wow.
For all of Ralph's bombast. We had the failed experiment with a co-owner. So maybe Ralph is, you know, he's getting a little old. He's getting a little rusty.
Just like
maybe he needs to go out and score another co-owner to help run that franchise. I don't know.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Chief.
My screen's froze up. I don't know if I was still connected or not. But I really don't have anything new. I think between Phil and Berto, you know, they pretty much hit it. I mean, look, Frank Gore, old. Fitzgerald, old. Steve Smith, older. Gates, old. You know, yeah. Are they really keepers going forward? They're well along the downside of their career. They're not going to overtake, you know, the Wheels or Giant Killers anytime soon with that as your nucleus. So what? You know, I think Russell Wilson's going to be a pretty good player, pretty good fantasy player. You know, Ryan Matthews is injury-prone himself, but it's not like they're going to get anybody better. And they just gotta, you know, get some draft assets for next year. You know, and build around those 2 guys plus Jimmy Graham. You know, I guess Joik Bell, you know, is a keeper going into next year. But, you know, if they can trade these guys for premium draft picks and use, you know, some 4th or 5th round draft picks to you know, poach not quite keepers from other teams and just find a new nucleus to build around. They're not going to do it this year. They're not going to do it next year. But I think after that, you know, they can identify some young talent and sacrifice some games and be back to a formidable team.
Well, I'll jump in as a team who spent a lot of time trying to rebuild and trying to reload and trying to find the right pieces of the puzzle. Ralph really, you know, he did enjoy a long stretch of being a really good team, having a good core nucleus of players. And, you know, as we just outlined, they're getting old. A lot of those guys are, and they haven't delivered a recent Pack Bowl. And, you know, if there's value there, if you can get them, you know, I'm not sure what the trade market for a guy like Frank Gore is, you know, or even Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, it's probably there, but, you know, we'll see. And you know, going into next year, I'm not sure how valuable those guys are as keepers. They're keepers probably, but are they the top guys you want? I don't know anymore.
Ralph needs a Matt Smith, a wide receiver guru, to help rebuild that wide receiver core.
Who maybe will respond to emails and come on the webcast.
Yeah, listen, Ralph's success has been built on a couple things. I think we talked about one of them already. That's his ability to transition very seamlessly from one great quarterback to another over the years. The other is, as I think Berto mentioned, Ralph has had some great drafts. It's been a while, but I'm looking at 2004 right now. He scored Larry Fitzgerald as a rookie. He scored Larry Johnson on the verge of his breakout. He scored Antonio Gates on the verge of his breakout, all in one draft. But those guys are all pretty old now. And Ralph has had a terrible run of draft picks in recent years. Let me go through these real quick. Obviously, I've beaten Marcus Wheaton to death this year, but that was a terrible pick. Last year, Miles Austin, first-round pick. 2012, he didn't draft in the first round, but took Roy Halou and Bilal Powell in the second round. 2011, Roy Halou, again, in the first round. 2010, wide receiver Terrell Owens. No building blocks with his top pick, in the last 5 years worth of drafts right now. And as these guys get old and are no longer keepers, there's not a lot of a foundation here right now. So I hate to say it, Ralph. And you've defied the odds many times, but I think you got your work cut out for you heading into 2015. Good luck.
Well, Berto, I hope you'll join me as my division mate in saying and wishing Ralph a very, very long and process.
I do. I'll sign up for that.
All right. I've got a couple more topics, but I'll tell you what. Let me save them for next week. We're 26 minutes into the show. I know the eye on the TFFL is worthy of a good amount of our time. So, Berto, Terry, why don't you guys take it away? I'm looking forward to this.
All right.
Thanks. So, Terry, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So first of all, Michael and I missed you greatly out in Vegas for Fish. But hoping your health is better.
Yes.
And we have a brand new bouncing baby kidney stone that you gave birth to.
Actually 3. So
congrats. What are their names?
They're all good.
I'm so sorry.
They're called they're just called "fuck you" kidney stones. All 3 of them.
So, well, like I said, we hope you're feeling good.
Yeah, feeling better. I actually Thursday late Friday morning, I guess, early Friday morning, that happened, and I didn't know what was going on. Went to the hospital, and long story short, I felt pretty good after passing one, and was still contemplating catching my plane to Vegas when the doctor told me I had a couple more in there, and it was probably best to sit tight for the weekend.
And not get on a 6-hour plane ride.
Not get on a plane ride or go to a concert where I might be under the influence. So.
Hey, can I interject here real quick? Terry, I had kidney stones a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was in the doctor's office one day, and this older Indian woman comes up next to me and starts telling me about her kidney stones. And she says, among other things, once a stoner, always a stoner.
Perfect.
Get used to it.
Very good. Well, like I said, we're glad you're feeling better and felt good enough to do this tonight, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So, the Mongols sitting at 5-4. It's pretty good. But historically, this team has been a bit of a shipwreck, right? So,
sure.
430 winning percentage, ahead of only 6.
Are we losing Berto?
Yeah, I can't hear him.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Well, you're coming in and out. Are you moving? Are you riding around in the truck? Yes.
No.
Try again. You're good now.
No. I don't know how much of that you heard, but historically, the second worst TFL team at 430 winning percentage, ahead of only the 356 winning percentage of the Fugitive Hogs. What's different now? Have you guys turned the corner?
I'd like to think we've turned the corner. We had a pretty good keeper list this year. Again, the bugaboo that I thought I had solved, which has reared its ugly head again a little bit this year, is the quarterback situation. But I'd like to think that we've turned the corner. This week will go a long way to determining how far we're catching the Sens, who are on a roll, but the Patriots are on a bye this week. So to answer your question, yes, the Mongols have turned the corner, and we're going to be playoff contenders for a while. So get used to it.
All right, fair enough. So we talked to the Beavers a few weeks ago about dual ownership. So what's your perspective on that, and how do you and Badass work together in managing this franchise? What's the communication levels between you guys? Daily, weekly?
Yeah,
how does all that work?
Yeah, Badass and I communicate during the season. I routinely call him on the way home from work. We probably talk 3 to 4 times a week during the season. That may be more frequent when there's a lot of trade offers on the table. We're discussing things. But, yeah, Bob and I are always talking about injuries, bye week replacements, things we need to do. So we communicate very frequently.
Okay. Now, how about trades that are going through to you? You're going to bounce everything off of Badass, right?
I bounce everything off Bob. We truly do try to do it as a dual ownership. When there does need to be a tie broken, so to speak, then I make that decision.
Okay.
So that's how we handle it. It rarely comes to that, but when we can't decide on a draft pick or whether to make a trade, I'll step up when I need to make that call.
Okay. Good. So what's your typical draft strategy going in? What do you guys, what's the preparation that happens in Mongols camp to get ready for the draft?
The preparation this year was a 12-hour car ride to Myrtle, where we talked to Doug when we passed every body of water. So this year's preparation left a little something to be desired. In years past, we've always got together to have a beer, go over players, draft strategy. We usually narrow our first pick down to a handful. And then we look at positions after that, second and third round. Quarterback, best player available, tight end, whatever it may be.
Okay. What's the so tell me about some of the best and worst trades the Mongols have made in their
the worst trade
run here.
The worst trade that pops into my mind, I made with Chief in a panic situation several years ago. I traded Wes Welker for an aging, way over the hill Isaac Bruce. That's a bad trade. The best trade that I made was Dominic Davis to the Lizards for Steve Smith, who at the time had a broken leg, and his first-round draft pick, which turned into Willie Parker. So that was the best trade. Now, some of my fondest memories of making trades were the Javon Walker trades with you, which I think were at 2 Government Mule shows 2 years in a row. So if speaking of the lack of trades, if I had been in Vegas this weekend, there may have been a trade done.
Something would have happened. Absolutely. All right, very good. Let's see. So paint me that the Mongols make a Pac Bowl run. What happens? Who are the stars in your team? Who's gonna step up? To propel the Mongols.
I think for me it's pretty clear what's going to need to happen. I mean, the Packers need to continue to roll. So Eddie Lacy and Randall Cobb need to do it, and they've done it for me this year, so I'm pretty confident. I think Dez, if Romo plays, will come back and do well. I need a third receiver to step up. Floyd and Crabtree have both been disappointments this year. Maybe it's not even one of them. Maybe it's Doug Baldwin in Seattle. But I need a third receiver to step up, and I need Rashad Jennings to come back from his injury like he didn't miss a beat. If those things happen, I think I can make the playoffs and make a deep run.
Are the Mongols actively pursuing trades? Do you have trade offers out there? Have you been sending emails, texts,
I
calls?
have not pursued a trade. I did go over the roster grid very hard this last week, looking for running back help and possibly quarterback help. Did kick the tires on a running back. It didn't happen. Didn't make an offer for a quarterback. Most of the ones that I looked at, the owner still needed them for bye weeks. I looked at Roethlisberger. When I realized Luck had a bye, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I looked at Alex Smith. Russell Wilson still has a bye, so that wasn't going to happen. So that's a roundabout way of saying no. I haven't made any trades, but it's something that I'm continuing to evaluate.
Okay. Very good. So just a couple other quick ones here. So is Bobby I Can't Drive 55 Badass Vaughn really afraid to drive on the highways?
He's
Bobby such a badass.
Yeah, maybe he's going to have to come up with a new nickname.
I think we may have to change that.
The badass nickname was coined from the guy who I knew who would pull the club off his steering wheel and go after another driver in a fit of road rage. That guy doesn't exist anymore. I don't think he's afraid to drive on the highway, but he's a stickler for the speed limit. So.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe we'll call him
my last question here.
LABV, law-abiding Bobby Vaughn.
There you go. All right, so my last question, I'm going to turn it over to the panel. So is Terry Rogers going to be the next TFFL commissioner after Chief's run is done? Will you commit to that now, tonight, on this webcast?
I hate to commit to anything, but I've told all you this in person, and this is what I'll say tonight. I've kicked that can down the road as far as I can, and I will do my TFFL duty when called upon.
Excellent. So, we're going to take that as
I've been in the league 20 years, and I've managed to avoid any position of responsibility, so it might be time to step up.
Fair enough. That's a yes. Good work.
Great job.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the panel here. Thank you, Terry. So,
thank you.
Chief, why don't we start with you?
Oh, what do you think about your team's performance this past week, Terry?
I think it was a travesty.
What went wrong, and is it cause for alarm, or is it just one of those things that happens every once in a while where everyone has an off day on the same day?
Well, I knew I was in trouble this week with the running back situation. Jennings didn't come back from his injury. Lacey was on a bye. Devonta Freeman, who not a good option, but also on a bye. So I knew I was in trouble. What I didn't expect was to get a donut out of Jordan Reed and basically a donut out of Floyd and Crabtree combined. Pleasantly surprised by Blake Bortles' 15. To be honest with you, Chief, when I was putting in that lineup Saturday morning, I had a fleeting it was a panic attack, I guess you could say, of me breaking the low scoring record that I already hold.
Well, especially when
I'm glad that didn't happen.
When Des Bryant was at 0 until the very end of the game.
Yes.
And typical bad luck fortune, he scored a touchdown, but that took away your defense special teams points.
It was a wash.
Cardinals defense.
It was a wash. Yes. No, I am concerned about last week's performance, but hopefully it's an aberration. I don't think you'll see that out of my receivers and tight ends going forward.
Terry, I don't want you to feel alone with the bagels from the receiving department. I
Very
too
good.
did a string of them last week, so you know you're in good company.
Good, good. At least I'm in company with a winning team, as opposed to in years past I've kept much lower company than that.
Well, you know, as the trivia told us, you know, years ago, the only time I won the Pac Bowl, it was over you. So I wouldn't mind seeing you there again. So get it together.
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey guys, as I was researching low winning scores, I think that Pact Bowl was like the lowest scoring Pact Bowl, 48 to 44 was the final of that game.
That was prior to the TFFL opening up its offensive rules. You know.
That's just we were running.
That was so long. That was so long ago. They still were wearing leather helmets.
You can maul the receivers off the line.
Yeah, you could.
Hey, Terry, is it fair to say that back in 2012, when Luck and RG3 came out as rookie quarterbacks, you wanted to draft Andrew Luck over RG3, but the Lizards took him ahead of you?
That's 100% true. Yeah. Tried to trade up, didn't happen. There was some whispers that had gone around that Richie preferred RG3. So I actually had some false confidence, thinking that Andrew Luck would fall to me. And that year in Myrtle, when on Friday night when Richie told me he was drafting Andrew Luck, it rocked my world. But I thought RG3 would have done more than he's done so far. I was extremely happy with him after his rookie year, but since then, not so much.
If you had to announce 2015 keepers today, is RG3 your quarterback for next year?
Today, probably not. But is that possibility still out there? 100%. In fact, I hope he's my keeper at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you get the number 2 pick in the draft, and you really got to hope that he comes on as a great rookie, and it got hurt, and but right now it looks like he's this time away from the field, he does not look comfortable, and the radio pundits in Washington are wanting him. We all want him to be better, but right now he's not.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he did some good things in his first game back, but he's. I think I heard someone on the radio. He's the most awkward-looking great athlete right now. He just doesn't look comfortable or good on the field at all right now. So.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, he's just unreliable.
Yeah.
If he's your keeper, you're going to draft knowing you have to spend another relatively high pick to get a quality quarterback. The 2 or 3 that are in the draft.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did this year. I had to target Jay Cutler in the I think it was the second, maybe the third round. And ideally, you don't want to do that when you already have a keeper quarterback. So, yeah, great point. That's something that's obviously going to come into consideration also. Now, in the next 6 weeks, if Blake Bortles turns into Superman, maybe I would love that. But, I've got 3 quarterbacks right now, and to what we were saying to Hank's point earlier, I don't trust any of them. So
Colt McCoy is available.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, get them all. And then you let off with that 2 quarterbacks, and you got none, and that's that's not my line. That's somebody that's some who I don't even know, probably Lombardi's or somebody,
Parcells.
or Parcells or Madden or whoever. But that's the problem is you're going to play, like I said, we're going to pick it wrong half the time. You can't build around one or the other. Do you keep 2? You look at the Hams, they kept Foles and Ryan, and right now they're getting nothing from either of them. So it's it's a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be in the situation you're in right now, or the Beavers are in. When you have that guy, and the way the NFL's going, a top-notch quarterback is paramount to winning in the TFFL. Everybody knows you need backs, but if you have that quarterback who's putting up 20 to 25 every week, that's a great start.
I have a little prediction. I think we're going to see far fewer keeper quarterbacks next year than we ever have. I think people realize, well, what's the benefit of keeping, forgive me, Phillip Rivers or even Cam Newton at this point or RG3 when they're light years away from being one of those top guys.
Right.
Who are you going to keep instead?
Keep a bunch of running backs.
Like a number 5 type running back, number 4 type wide receiver?
I mean, it's going to depend on who you've got, obviously, but those top 4 quarterbacks are really the difference makers. And
says the guy who kept 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, hey.
I'm getting great play from him.
Nope.
Yeah, who's your quarterback, Stick? Which guy you starting?
Neither one of them is playing real well. I wouldn't keep either one of them right now.
I predict next year we'll have fewer quarterbacks kept than this past year. Do we have 14 keeper quarterbacks this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel safe taking the under on that.
Yeah. Berto, any final questions?
No, I think that's it. Thanks again, Terry.
Thank you.
We'll maybe try to get Ralph back next week or a new guest. But Terry, thanks so much for being here. All right, Chief, let's start looking ahead to Week 10. Run through the schedule real quick and give us a game of the week to talk about.
I'm still on a frozen screen, so if someone else wants to read, I'll give you the game of the week, and someone else can recap the rest of them if they'd like to. But just let me thank Terry too. In our league, we hear from, and I'm guilty as anybody. Seems like the same 6 or 7 owners 90% of the time. So it's good to hear a voice that it doesn't get so much airtime, as it were. So anyway, the game of the week, and if you've seen the schedule, you know that the SoCo is in full bloodbath mode right now, and in all 3 games, you could make a case for being the game of the week. But I'm going to take the Beavers and the Hams as the game of the week right now. Right now, the Beavers are minus 42 to beat the Hams, which is astounding to me. And I think the Hams will cover, but I got to go with the Beavers on this one. Of course, Michael's quarterback decision is much easier this week with Foles being out, and I suspect his mind's made up for the rest of the season now. He's going to sink or swim with Matt Ryan. Sammy Watkins had an MRI on his groin injury today, so we'll see what kind of see if he plays or if he's going to need at least 1 or 2 maintenance games to let it heal. But Hams are fading, man. They're. I was nervous about 2 weeks ago where I was at the point where even if I win out, I'm going to need the Hams to lose at least 3 games, and they didn't look like they were going to do that. But right now they're in free fall. I don't see it getting better for the team right now, as much as I'm half pains to say it. And I still think the Beavers are the class of the Southern Conference. So I'd look for a Beavers win, although not quite 42 points.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, Stick. So Michael has gotten crushed. Gio Bernard out. Calvin Johnson has been out. Sammy Watkins going for an MRI, but still showing up as 9. Projected as 9, but. Nick Foles out for 6 to 8 weeks. Andre Williams not stepping up like some of us, or at least me, thought he would. A lot of question marks. Keenan Allen is Keenan Allen on bye this week?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's on bye, so this is going to be a very tough week. I don't see the Hams coming close to this game. To Chief's point, maybe it won't be 42, but maybe it'll be 22 or 32 because this team is just is in rough shape right now. The running backs right now are Telfiero and Sims and Tate. It's not looking good for the Hams right now.
No. Let's look at another game with our man Terry on the broadcast with the Mongols and the Senators. That is a huge game for Terry and on the Sens who've been rolling. This is going to be a factor in those in that Southern Conference race.
Yeah, we've got 4 games left, all against fellow SoCo owners. So it's these playoff spots are going down to the last week. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
Absolutely. I feel lucky playing the Sens with the Patriots on their bye week, with Brady being on the roll he's been on. It definitely, I'm not discounting that Joe Flacco couldn't have a big week, but it definitely bodes well for the Mongols that I'm not facing Brady.
Mm-hmm. And Shane Vereen out too.
And Shane Vereen, yep.
That helps. The North is less exciting. The Killers, they're only a 7-point favorite over the surging Boba Fats. They could win. I'm right now a 40-point favorite over the Aliens, but I'm guessing Stick hasn't set his lineup yet. The K-Wheels have to beat the Aliens. The K-Wheels, as we know, have lost 3 of 4, and this is a must-win game for my franchise and the psyche of the entire K-Wheels organization.
Lost 3 of 4.
3 of 4. Yep. And then the AMPAC, who we just kind of sold down the river, are currently a 7-point favorite over the Lizards. We got 3 cross division games in the North, and let's see if the divisions are really that much stronger. If all 3 of those division teams lose in the East, oof. Yeah, the playoff picture doesn't get any clearer for them.
No.
No, but if any of them can win, it's huge, and that changes that whole division dynamic. So exciting stuff ahead.
Hey, the Beavers Hams game of the week. Let's call that what it is. I think that's a bad choice for game of the week. I think the Beavers are going to romp in that. The Hams are the worst team in your division right now, Chief.
Well, I consider the game of the week not to be so much the one I expect to be the closest, but the most important.
And then that's a tough call this week. Obviously, lots of tight games. But the Hams are going the wrong direction right now. Senators and the Sponge on a big roll too, going the opposite way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's. So the rest of the games we've sort of touched upon a lot of these, but Chief, let me read these off real quick. Yeah, obviously the Aliens playing the K-Wheels. K-Wheels will be big favorites there. Senators playing the Mongols. We talked a little bit about that one. AMPAC and the Lizards. Lizards have everybody on a bye this week. Luck, the Minnesota running backs, T.Y. Hilton, obviously, Gostkowski. We'll see if the Lizards can pull that one out. Killers and the Fats, and then the Sponge and the Devils, another important Southern Conference game. Okay, let's. We're wrapping up. We're close to hitting our usual 52-minute mark. Actually, we're at the 52-minute mark right now, so we'll go an extra minute or two here. The answer to our TFFL trivia question. We're looking for the lowest scoring winning game in TFFL history. What do we got?
I have no idea.
Again, 33 was what the Aliens posted last week. 25, Hank says.
29, I said.
29 for Berto.
I didn't write it down. I say 21.
All right. Well, I asked one.
I have 31 sticks. I don't think you'd go through all this trouble if it was a 33.
It was not the 33 of the Aliens. I asked one of our interns here at TFFL Media to put a query into our TFFL database. We came back with 6 games in TFFL history in which the winning score has been less than the Aliens' 33.
Sick.
And when we first started, getting the results, spit out of the computer here, I was kind of laughing because the very first 3 that came up, the Mongols were the losing team in all 3, so they actually scored less than these low. The fourth game that the computer spit out was a Mongols win.
There we go.
The Mongols
Okay.
won a lot of low games. The correct answer happens twice here is 28. And I told you that one person on this panel has one of those records. The K-Wheels with 28 beat the Mongols 28-26 back in Week 10 of 2004.
Strong.
Defensive struggle.
Oh, that's probably like one of my only wins that year.
That win got the K-Wheels to 2-8 on the season, and dropped the Mongols to 1-9.
Battle of the
Titans.
The other time it happened was back in 1999. The Can-Am Fever won with 28 over the Steel City Mongols with 20.
Oof.
That was clearly the dead ball era.
There you have it.
The Mongols are going to hire someone to erase the TFFL archive. I'm going to get an intern to do that.
And our thanks to intern Brooke.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's right. He's on that.
All right, Chief, some closing thoughts, maybe an apology to the GMC terrain.
Hell no. I never apologize. I'm sorry. That's just the way I was raised.
Terry, you'll have to watch last week's episode to know what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got some key deadlines coming up too. Some reminders for us all, Chief.
And I'm not sure someone didn't, stick a P in between the terrain to make it Terrapin.
They might have in Maryland. That's very possible.
Maryland fan or something like that. But anyhow, do any of you guys read that fantasy journalist around the league column comes out on Wednesdays or Tuesdays?
No.
Periodically, yes.
Yeah, every once in a while.
I've
So I read it
perused
this week, and I was reading about the Wheels Boba Fett's game, and it was talking for a while how the Boba Fett stopped their 7-game losing streak, and then it turned to the Wheels and say, there's not much the Wheels could have done. They, for the first time this year, put in their optimal scoring lineup. Again, something they have never done this year. And this is a quote here. Albeit by following CBS sports predictions to the letter. How arrogant is this prick that he thinks that I'm going to read the CBS projections from David Richard or Jamie Eisenberg or Jesse Eisenberg and set my lineup by how many points they have. Albeit by following CBS sports predictions to the letter. It just, it's, and I kind of like the fantasy journalist, not because he adds anything worthwhile, but I'm kind of amazed by the intelligence, because he'll say things like, and the aliens lost to the Sponge for the 4th year in a row, or scored less than 35 points in the last 6 conference matches. Like, wow, that's some pretty good algorithm they have working there. But albeit by following CBS sports predictions to the letter. So Hank, you have that going for you. So congratulations. You can always
I consult the journalist often.
let him say that for you. You'll get.
I like the quotes back.
Ask the experts. Yes.
You'll get a good marks by him anyway. But what I really want to talk in, I almost wish Kramer were here so we'd have a lawyer on the panel. As you know, Adrian Peterson, possibly by now, the NFL's ruled on his return. And of course, when they talk about Adrian Peterson, you have to talk about Ray Rice. And just to sum up the Ray Rice issue right now, is the union has filed a grievance, okay, because Roger Goodell suspended him for 2 games because he said he pushed his girlfriend, she fell, bumped her head, knocked herself out. Video comes out, they find he absolutely assaults her, and then as you know he gets suspended for indefinitely. So their case right now is that he shouldn't be punished twice because Roger Goodell, if he hadn't seen the tape, should have seen the tape, and therefore only the first punishment is valid. And some jerk off at a halftime show, is it Sunday or Monday night, said the words, and the NFL can't do that because that's a whole double jeopardy clause. Who the fuck are these morons who think a double jeopardy applies to a discipline in a workplace environment? Ray Rice didn't go to trial yet. He's not worried about being, set on trial twice for something he did or did not do. This is a goddamn private environment, and if you just lie and said A happened, and you get X punishment, and you get concrete proof that no, A didn't happen, B, C plus D happened, and you're punished again, double jeopardy doesn't apply to your case. And why no journalist is grasping that, and they all expect him to be reinstated because he's been punished twice is just baffling to me. So I would love to hear Kramer having a quote-unquote learned opinion on matters of law weigh in on this. But I mean, does this bother anybody else? Am I off base? Is this a GMC Terrapin all over again? Does double jeopardy apply to a non-courtroom, a non-legal proceeding?
No.
No.
I would
Absolutely
say
not.
no. Yes.
And I know Kramer is an active watcher of the webcast, so I will predict that we'll get a response on this.
But not one person. I mean, I read Pro Football Talk religiously. All right, Mike Florio is a lawyer by trade, practicing 20-some-odd years. He makes the same comments, or he at least reports on the same comments, without explaining why this doesn't apply here.
Well, and, there could be some union regulation that they've collectively bargained that once a player's been punished for an incident, you can't reopen it and punish him again. But I don't know, and I would guess that that's not right.
On things like and thank God the 1972 break-in didn't happen at the Water Penis Hotel. But with things like Spygate and Bountygate, Roger Goodell has gone out of his way to say, if further violations come to light, we reserve the right to extend the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have to imagine that also applied in this case. I don't recall, his press conference. It was opening weekend, but I don't see, and frankly, I hope that he doesn't come back. I'm a little disappointed at the union. Of course, sometimes they do things they don't want to do. Would actually take this case up. I think for all their no more commercials, well, if you believe that no more is no more, then fucking go represent Ray Rice.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. They are trying to get a lot of media mileage out of their No More Violence campaign. Well, they got a poster child on the front page of the paper that they're talking about that they're not distancing themselves from.
Yep.
And it's not extremely relevant. I don't think any team's going to touch him this year or next year. But as well as principal things where, maybe the Ravens do. Or not the Ravens. I would say Ravens are a bunch of criminals, but I forgot he was the next Raven. But, maybe the Raiders do. If someone needs running back help desperate enough, they do. But I think they're leaving themselves open, like for another black guy. So I mean, probably not the most venomous rant I have, and it's probably got a little off onto a serious tangent. But let's fuck the fantasy journalist. Stick back to you.
All right. Well, we have successfully gone over an hour for the first time.
All right.
Well done, guys.
All right. Let's wrap up. We're heading into Week 10 action, of course, starting tomorrow night. Chief, why don't you get back to us all with the exact date and time of our trading deadline? That is coming up really quick. Hank, good luck pulling off a blockbuster in the next week or so. Justin Forsett and Roddy White are there for the taking, folks. Come get them. So, good luck to all teams in Week 10. We'll be back in a week, November 12th, for our Week 11 webcast. Take care.